waste one, however you decide to use a color coding. Now that we have a control object created, we can copy this around the character and use it where we need. We will start with the lower waist, or the hip controls. This control will control this bone here, and actually have a bit of a twist effect going up the spinal column once we're done. It looks a little large to me, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to scale it down into size, make it a bit smaller so it doesn't stand out as much. As I said previously, you should never scale an object at the object level. This can cause changes in the transform matrix and will cause problems later. The best thing you can do if you want to change the size of an object is use an X-form modifier and scale the gizmo. Scaling the gizmo isn't scaling the object. In fact, all it's doing is moving all of the vertices in the object to a new position using the gizmo container. Once I've sized it to the size I like, right-click, convert to editable spline again, which will remove the X-form from the stack. Add another one to just above the main control. This will control the mid-waist section. A third, this will handle the upper shoulder area. And a fourth up on top, and this will be for handling the head. The next thing we can do is align these controls to the bones in orientation. Change the local axis. And the reason we want to do that is we're going to be using orientation constraints to handle the spinal column. It's easiest if our control object has the same basic orientation to start with. If you'll notice the base one here, Z is up, Y is backwards, X is across. If I pick the bone, it'll be controlling. Y is forward, Z is this way across, and X is down. So it's completely different. We pick this control, use the Align tool, and align it in orientation X, Y, and Z up to that base bone. The next two controls to set up properly, I want to align both of them to the base one. We want both of these controls actually to be in the same orientation. You'll find once we start using the orientation constraints, if you haven't done this, you'll start getting errors. Using the Align tool, I'm going to align them both to the base bone of the upper spine in orientation. And the head bone, I'm just going to align up to the nub bone at the top of the head. These controls are ready to be used now. Hooked up to the spinal column and control the character. If you find yourself reusing controls like this all the time, you can do several things to make it easier. One is to actually write them into a scripted tool set so you can drag and drop them onto the screen. I have done several that are available for download from my site to make it easier to actually be able to create these controls. This one even has the ability to be able to add text into it, so you can drag out coins that have characters' names or part names added into them. The next step will be linking the objects together and zeroing out the controls so that we have a zero value to start with during animation. This will help the animators make more sense of their function curves because all of the curves will start at a value of 0 at the default pose, as opposed to having arbitrary values and spreading their function curves out in the curve editor. Let's start with the linking. It's going to be very straightforward. We'll start with the neck bone. We'll use the Select and Link tool. Link the neck bone to the nub bone at the top of the spinal column. We're going to link the upper spine and lower spine to the main control object. And we're going to link all of the control objects to the main control. If we